Hello and welcome back to the channel. So about the kind of hyperbolic title of this video, basically I was reading a book called The Argonauts by a really excellent writer named Maggie Nelson, and there was a passage in it that kind of blew me away. So I was like, this is the best thing I've read in a long time, and for me, right now, this minute, maybe it's the best piece of writing of all time. Now tomorrow that might change. So that's kind of what I mean by the title. It's not definite at all. Nothing like this is ever definite. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just read this passage that absolutely blew me away and that I found deeply compelling and moving. But whatever I am, or have since become, I know now that slipperiness isn't all of it. I know now that a studied evasiveness has its own limitations, its own ways of inhibiting certain forms of happiness and pleasure. The pleasure of abiding, the pleasure of insistence, of persistence. The pleasure of obligation, the pleasure of dependency, the pleasure of ordinary devotion. The pleasure of recognizing that one may have to undergo the same realizations, write the same notes in the margin, return to the same themes in one's work, relearn the same emotional truths, write the same book over and over again, not because one is stupid, or obstinate, or incapable of change, but because such revisitations constitute a life. So I love this passage so much that right now I barely have the words to communicate exactly why. I feel like I would need to almost write an essay about it rather than talk about it. It's one of those passages that I just like to read and just sit with. Now I will offer a few things that on the surface I think are quite valuable about the passage. And especially valuable for a writer or storyteller. That is when Nelson talks about repetition and repeating the same themes over and over in your work and writing about the same things. She calls these revisitations. And not only are they important, but for Nelson maybe they constitute a life, which is a baffling and really profound thing to say. And it really got me thinking about my own writing and how there are certain patterns and tendencies and themes and ideas that I feel like I return to. There are certain pet obsessions and notions and ideas that I can't really seem to escape from, and I think rather than feeling like I'm being dry and boring and repetitive, I feel like maybe I ought to embrace that. And I encounter this in everything that I kind of look at. I'm always seeing various themes and ideas that seem really familiar to me. And I usually have to pause and remind myself that even though this seems really familiar, this is still a really important idea. An example I like to use is the idea that when we sit down to eat, eating is not just about sustenance and feeding and enjoying food, but it's also about community and interaction with another person. And eating a great meal is a great way to get to know someone, to have a conversation. I often hear chefs or people who are just really into cooking and preparing food talk about this idea when they're asked, what does cooking mean for you? And they often will mention this idea that food is not just about the food, but it's about this sense of community, this sort of gathering of different minds in one space, and it's the sharing of a meal. And I think that's incredible. That's probably one of my favorite things in life, is to bond with someone or just to have a really good conversation over a really good meal. It's such an incredible experience to me. It's something I always look forward to. However, that's an idea that I hear all the time. There's this repetition around. It's almost stale at this point. If I hear a chef say the value of this, I'm like, okay, I've heard that a million times. That doesn't mean we shouldn't keep talking about it because it's really important. We can get lost in our own sorts of dramas and dilemmas in life, and we can lose track of these things. So that's why we need to keep repeating them. At least that's the first reason. The second reason is just because it's a familiar idea to you and you've heard it a million times doesn't mean it's a familiar idea to everyone. There is somebody out there who may have no idea that food is a great way to bond with other people. Food was simply something to do that felt good and to fill yourself up. And you just do that on repeat. And there's no deeper level to the experience of mealtime. That could be a really life-changing realization for someone who's never heard that. And so it's really important for us to just keep repeating these things, whether it's this idea of food as community or whether it's any other type of theme or aspect of life that we think is really important. We just have to keep saying it over and over again and keep reminding ourselves of why it's so crucial. I don't know if that's exactly what Maggie Nelson had in mind when she wrote that passage, but I think it kind of ties into something about what she's getting at. Those things at the end of the day are what we're going to take home with us. That's what we're going to really embrace and find truly valuable in life. And at the end of the day, we're not going to care that we've heard it a million times. We're going to be grateful that we did. Not just because I'm encouraging you to follow these repetitions, to follow these thematic interests, and repeat them over and over again. That doesn't mean you should not seek to explore new ground, not try to challenge yourself and explore new ideas. It just means that you're probably going to find yourself obsessing over the same types of ideas and themes for whatever complex variety of reasons there may be, and it's for you to be okay with that. But you still want to be courageous in the way you explore these ideas, and also always try to avoid cliche and empty platitudes and dull advice. So just try to be invigorating and rich, and know that even if something seems unhelpful to you at a certain time, it's going to be helpful to you later. And even if it doesn't seem helpful to you now, there's definitely someone out there who will definitely value what you have to say. So keep saying it again and again and again. So that's really all I have to say today. I hope you found that passage as beautiful and stunning as I did. Even if you disagree with me on some of my ideas about it, I hope it gives you some food for thought to carry with you throughout the day. Thanks so much for watching this, and please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. And that's all I've got, so we will see you next time.